Welcome into Hockey Sense, everybody, presented by First Community. Great to have you along with us, as always. Great show for you once again this week. Live from Half Coast Studios, again, brought to you by First Community. Blues lose last night in a heartbreaker. I mean, just an absolute heartbreaker. Matthew Tkachuk does it again in his native St. Louis. I mean, he just comes back to the Enterprise Center. I had him on our postgame show, and he had a hat trick in his last game. That was last year. He only comes here once a year, and last night, he gets 2 goals, including the game winner, in the waning seconds of the game. And that is a tough one for the Blues to swallow when you consider how well they played throughout the game. It had a little bit of everything. I think it was a fast game, pretty physical. I thought the Blues responded pretty well to the physicality. Jake Neighbors getting it started with the fight with Sam Bennett right off the draw. I mean, how often do you see that? So I'm like, okay, here we go. We're going to see some fireworks, and it's going to be one of those types of games. And the Blues just wouldn't go away. They did get the first goal of the game with Zachary Bolduc scoring, but then they found themselves down by a goal after the first period, and you were kind of curious entering the second, hey, how are they going to respond? And then they get the power play goal from Oscar Sundqvist. Gets his fourth. Sundqvist, all he does is score against the Florida Panthers. That's his second consecutive goal against the Panthers, 16 games apart. So he finds his offensive game against Florida. But Matthew Tkachuk is the game winner, like I said. Sam Reinhart with a shot goes off of Tkachuk. Tkachuk was outstanding throughout the game. I mean, just in the mix. I mean, going after guys in scrums and whatnot. And again, I think the Blues handled it pretty well. They handled him relatively well. He did score earlier in the game. Reinhart was kept pretty quiet throughout the course of the game, although all he needs is one shot, and he just makes a difference. I mean, you look at a guy like Reinhart in terms of shots on goal over the course of the game. How many shots did he have? Only had 1 shot on goal. Did a pretty good job on him. Tkachuk was 7 shots. Verhaeghe had 4. Verhaeghe's interesting because here's a guy who's scored a lot of goals in the past, and this season maybe just hasn't gone as well for him as we've seen. At least certainly in the last couple of years. He had 42 goals 2 years ago, 34 last season. And this guy gets a lot of chances, and for whatever reason, he either fumbles it at the end and just can't bury it. Still has 15 goals in the season, over 40 points. They're good, man. Florida's good. And what are you going to do? I don't know where things are going with St. Louis. It is what it is. You just hope to kind of hang around. You don't want to fall back too far. You'd like the games to kind of mean something as you play into March. And obviously into April. So we'll see where they're at. I know there's some stuff now floating around with the trade deadline. Listen, don't be surprised with anything you hear. I actually talked to Braden Shen about this recently. I mean, he's got a no-trade clause, full no move, or no trade, I should say. Nobody gets a no move in St. Louis, you know that. But he's got the no trade, and so I guess he's going to be able to dictate where he goes if he goes. But yeah, I think if you're Doug Armstrong, you have to look at everything. I'm not advocating trading this guy or that guy, but why wouldn't you look at every single player right now and try to find a way to improve this roster moving forward? I mean, it looks like you're going to miss the playoffs for 3 straight years. There's going to be changes coming. That's just the way it goes. And it's not just from missing the playoffs, but, you have a new coach, obviously, in Jim Montgomery. He's going to have a say. They're going to have to work together in terms of what type of team that he wants to coach. I mean, management's going to build a team, and they're going to give it to him, and he's going to have no option, obviously, but to coach the guys that he's handed. But he's going to want specific types of players on his roster that he feels like he can win with. So Shen, yeah, is he in play? Well, sure. Why wouldn't he be in play? I think if you're Doug Armstrong, you are listening on every single player. And I mean every single one. Now, would I trade a Jordan Kyrou right now? Probably not. I mean, he's a guy you just all he does is play hockey. And that's all you get from Jordan Kyrou. He just plays. Some games he scores, some games he doesn't. But he's not hurting you the way that maybe you looked at him a year ago. And he just comes out there and he just plays hockey. And if you look at it now, I mean, in terms of where he's at, what was he last night? Was he a minus last night? Because he was plus 11 coming into last night's game. We record these so early, sometimes I just haven't had a chance to really fully break it down in terms of whatever. But he was -2 last night, so he had a quiet game last night. You'd like to see more from Kyrou in a game like that against a big-time opponent like Florida. He didn't have a shot on goal, I don't think, either. So, not the performance you're looking for from Kyrou. But would I look to trade Kyrou? I mean, obviously, depending on the return, sure, you look at everything. But there's a lot of guys that I would not hesitate to move on from. The one thing the Blues are lacking, in my opinion, is just, and you see it now, okay? And not every team has the McDavids and the Dreisaitl's and the Kachucks and the Reinhardts and the Barkovs. I mean, these are elite teams, but a lot of teams around the league, they just have that game changer. They have these elite superstars. And if you were just to compare the Blues stars versus the other team's top players that they face on the majority of nights, I mean, you can make the argument that the opposing team that they face, their star players are better than the Blue star players. They certainly are outperforming the Blue star players. I mean, I think there's another level for the Blue star players to get to that they have not gotten to this season. I think that's held them back. It's hard to win in the National Hockey League as it is. It's even more so difficult when your best players aren't playing at their best. And I think Thomas has been better the last couple of games, but we all know he hasn't had his best season. Suffered the injury, he's come back, and he just hasn't been able to really develop any real chemistry with his line mates. They tried to put Holloway on there early in the game yesterday. That didn't last long. He's been playing with Buchnevich. Buchnevich, I've said it all season long, I think he's being bothered. He's got an ailment. Something's not right with him. He just can't get that separation when you watch him play. You know, I mean, the Ryan Suter story has been great. He's 40 now. And I had somebody ask me last night, would they consider bringing him back? I just don't think that's in the cards right now for the Blues. Listen, he has given them what they needed, and even then some. And I think you even more so appreciate a Ryan Suter when you're hanging into the playoff race. Once you fall off, you're like, okay, we have a 40-year-old defenseman, and let's find out what he wants to do. Does he want to go somewhere else and play and finish the season and have a chance to win, or does he just want to finish it off here in St. Louis? He's done a great job for the Blues. I've got no complaints about Ryan Suter, but you're not bringing a 40-year-old defenseman back. That's not where the Blues need to go right now. They know that. You know, Parayko's a guy not moving. Broberg's a guy not moving. Everybody else, I mean, I'm just saying, and this is probably the case for most teams that are out of the playoffs right now. You are exploring any and all options. So I'm interested to see where things go. And it's not just for the trade deadline for Doug Armstrong, as you know. This goes into the offseason. This goes into the summer, up into the draft. And because they got to find a way to improve the roster. Otherwise, it's just not going to fix itself. And I will say this, as great of a story as Dvorsky has been down in the American League, and we've had him on the show, I look forward to seeing him play. You just can't expect these 19, 20-year-old kids, him, Snuggerud, to come up here and save the day. That's just not going to happen. Now, you hope they transition very, very well and nicely to the NHL game, and they come in here and they have success and they produce and they fit right in. But I just don't know if you can just expect that. These are not top 5 picks, although in the case of Dvorsky, he's top 10. And elite ability in terms of his upside. So excited to see what they eventually bring to the table. Sundqvist scored last night, like I said, but you haven't been getting much from your bottom 6. I look at a guy like Toropchenko. He's got 1 goal on the season. I mean, how has that happened? He had 14 last year. I mean, Craig Berube was so high on this guy all the time. But I watch him play. He's always the guy carrying the puck through the neutral zone, you know? He's a big body who needs a centerman who can carry the puck through the neutral zone and kick it wide to him, to Toropchenko, so he can then drive the net and use his big frame to get to the net and maybe score some of those goals, driving wide, using his speed and size. But when he's forced to carry the puck through the neutral zone, what happens is he just gets stood up at the blue line and he's forced to chip it in. So I think the Blues need to get a little bit quicker in their bottom 6. They need to get more skilled in their top 6. And they need some more natural goal scoring on this roster that they really just don't have right now. You know, outside of Kyrou, who leads the team with 23 goals, there's not a whole lot of natural finishers. Saad was kind of that guy, but now he obviously is out of the equation. He certainly wasn't scoring at a high rate this year. You know, Neighbors last year had 27. And this is why I think it was a smart move by Doug Armstrong to give Neighbors the bridge deal. Let's see where he's at after the next couple of years. I mean, there's no question he's a good player, but is he a third-line guy? Is he a 2B? What is he? You know, sometimes you're forced to play these guys higher up the lineup than you really want to. Not by design, but it just is what it is. They've had a revolving door on that left side. They need a left winger to play with Thomas. And I'm not advocating moving Robert Thomas. And I hear some people say, well, they should just move Thomas. I mean, finding a center of his caliber is so difficult. And let's face it, the Blues are not a destination for a lot of free agents. I had somebody tell me the other day, I think it was Cam, he was hearing somebody say that the Blues should, trade this guy and that guy, free up money, then go sign Mitch Marner. I mean, if you think Mitch Marner is going to come sign in St. Louis, it's probably not realistic. I'd take that Sam Bennett, though, although Bennett's going to get $7 million a year. I mean, he scores, he's fight, he's tough, finishes checks. I mean, he's a problem during the course of the game when you watch Sam Bennett. But I'll tell you what, guys like Matthew Olivier, guys like Trent Frederick, people who are going to bring some accountability and some energy and some toughness to this roster, I think would certainly be nice. But they need skill, man. They need, like I said, some natural offensive players who can create plays offensively and put the puck in the net. We'll get into this later. Darren Pang is going to join me coming up next. We'll talk to him about this. Also with Jamal Mayers. So we've got a lot to get into here on this edition of Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. Also, David Novak coming in. My boy from Blue Note Roofing, he'll be in here later in the show as well, so stick around for a conversation with David Novak. Hey, how about that wedding loan? How many of you that are couples are getting engaged this month? You know, it's the engagement month. It's February. It's Valentine's Day, so this is the month to get engaged. A lot of guys out there thinking about popping the question. That's why you go to Lordo's Diamonds and you get the best of the best. In terms of the best selection, best customer service. They've been around for 70 years, 314-432-8008. Right there in the heart of the Lordo's Diamonds. So you get that wedding loan from First Community after you go to Lordo's Diamonds. Those big ticket items, man, they require a big, hefty deposit. We all know how much money you have to put down for that deposit, right? Everything seems to be costing a lot of money nowadays. Even if it's not happening for a long time, because these weddings, man, you plan these weddings a year and a half out, but you still got to put that money down. Now, First Community, they offer the wedding loan with a great low rate. It's probably a lot lower than what you're getting with your credit cards, I can tell you that. So you can use it for anything related to the wedding and then pay it off in an affordable monthly payment. So apply today and start planning the big day. Ask about the wedding loan from First Community. Also ask about Blues, Little Blues, how to get your son or daughter signed up in that program. Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop. Download the app today. Find out why so many of these deals are so good they call them steals. That's how good they are. Dirt Cheap Fun. Find the location nearest you. Some of the locations have drive-thrus, curbside pickup. You don't even have to get out of your car. You can do your shopping from the app. Don't sleep on those party supplies. I've been telling you. Paper goods, all that type of stuff. If you've got Valentine's Day parties, engagement parties, whatever kind of celebration you have coming up, do not sleep on the party supplies you'll find at Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop. Four Hands Brewing Company. Voted St. Louis's #1 brewing company. Get that mango lemonade, baby. That mango lemonade hard seltzer, the Cam and Strick podcast hard seltzer. You can find it anywhere in St. Louis. Anywhere you get those Four Hands Brewing Company products. It's the best hard seltzer on the market. There's a lot of good ones. Nothing compares to the mango lemonade. Four Hands makes a bunch of good ones. This is the best of the best, the mango lemonade hard seltzer from Four Hands Brewing Company. Check that out. And check out all their incredible tasting rooms. The one downtown, South 8th Street, 1220 South 8th Street. Try those wine and spirits, 1220 Spirits, incredible. You can also go to the newest location in Kirkwood, which is unreal. That's great for date night. They've got food from Peacemaker, food from High Point at the Chesterfield location. Take the whole family out there, let the kids run around outside. Perfect for after the game on your Friday or Saturday nights or anytime during the week. So check out Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop. I told you about Blue Note Roofing, gutter, soffit, fascia, 314-920-5713 for David Novak. He'll be with me in studio coming up in just a few minutes. Connor Bedard, he took some heat this past week from Biz on TNT. What's the reaction around Chicago? We've heard from some of the players. We'll get Darren Pang's thoughts. That's next here on Hockey Sense. I'm Andy Strickland. Brought to you by First Community. We're live at Half Coast Studios. Thanks for hanging out. It's our Friday tradition.
Is that a Minnesota North Star behind you?
It is. They gave us all these old school ones. We got the Quebec Nordiques over there. You probably can't see it because
nice. No, but yeah, first team I ever played against. North Stars.
First game ever.
My first game, yeah.
How'd that go?
With that great sweater right there. That's the best sweater.
Is it not amazing?
Yeah, it's really good. I like when they wear them with the Wild. That's the best ones.
Who scored the first goal against you ever?
Kurt Johnson.
Little Kurt Giles, block shots.
Exactly. Little guy, number 2.
I used to love watching him play. I mean, growing up, seeing so many games against the North Stars, they were always on television. Whoever was in the Norris division, you just felt like they played them every other
100 times.
100 times a
Yeah,
year.
it was unbelievable. It was crazy hockey.
What was it like playing in Minnesota? Like, was the crowd loud? Like looking back on it, I mean, and I know I'm going way back here and way off script, but like, how could they leave Minnesota at the time? You know, like what?
Oh, yeah, that was a Norm Green financial thing again. I think it was one of those, just how to put things in play, probably thinking he was going to get what he needed. If I'm not mistaken, it was a new rink. And Bloomington, Minneapolis, where the Met Center was, it wasn't up to date. So it needed some, resurrection. And I think he played his cards out and bang, gone right to Dallas. So disappointing because it was like the Met Center was a cool building, but it was starting to become a little bit, emptier and emptier. But when I played in, the years that I played in 80, I got called up in 84, 85. I mean, it was Dino Cicerelli, Don Beaupre, Bobby Smith, Neil Broughton, and they hated. It was like Dino sucks every time he came to the Chicago Stadium, and then every time Al Secord came to the Met Center, it was Secord sucks, and it was Al Secord fighting Willie Klett, and I mean, it was big boy hockey. I'll just tell you that. That's what it was.
But
it was just fun.
The first game I ever went to with the press pass ever was I was an intern at KMOX, and I went to pick it up from the window at the Enterprise Center. It wasn't the Enterprise at the time, but standing there waiting for his pass was Al Secord. And I said, Secord sucks. And he just started laughing.
Oh, my God.
Because I was like, that's all I remember as a kid. But I loved watching him play because he never had a bucket on and his hair was flying around. Yeah. And he seemed to love the attention he would get from the fans, too. Like you got to know that they're screaming at you all the time. But he was funny. It's just, it's one of those moments you're young and all of a sudden you're seeing these guys, maybe for the first time you're seeing these NHL players.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was good. He could score goals too. I mean, there's not many guys like that anymore.
Two-time 50-goal scorer. Like a back-to-back years. He was a we call him Rocky. Mm-hmm. And he was he's the first guy that I remember going to the back of the old Chicago Stadium. There's a weight room, and it was like a little dungeon back there, and you had to go way back. And then when you went to the way far back to the left, there was this kind of a little area where there were stairs that go up into this old wooden, I don't know what it was, like a shed that went upstairs into an attic. And it was, anyway, there was a speed bag right there in the corner. And when I was rehabbing my ACL, Al Secord took me back there and he's like, okay, this is great training for you, great hand-eye coordination. He taught me how to hit the speed bag. And this guy was a machine. He would like stand there.
Yeah. Well, he couldn't have been nice.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been
nice. He's a nice guy. A great human being. And he's a airline pilot now with American Airlines based in Dallas. I saw him at an alumni event in Dallas a couple of years ago. Yeah. Looks great as always. And he's a good one for sure.
Yeah. Well, Minnesota goes to Dallas, and Dallas has been thriving ever since. So, and now Minnesota, obviously, they have a team, so everybody's happy.
Everybody's happy. Yeah,
we don't
have any more Al Secords in the game. We need more of those.
No, the Blues lost last night with like 11 seconds left, man. And those are the hardest games, man. Especially against a good team, right? When you're hanging in there, it's been physical, it's fun, and then you lose with 11 seconds left. It's just been one of those years, Panger. I mean, are you paying attention to St. Louis? Is it hard to do that? I know you watch every team, but
I try. I do try to because a lot of times the teams that Chicago's going to face, they're either going through St. Louis first and then coming through Chicago, or I've seen the Florida Panthers last Saturday against the Hawks, so want to see how they play again, and then you want to watch the good teams. For me, that's it, and see how the Blues are going to do against the good teams because they're playing well. They gave Edmonton everything they had until Draisaitl took that sucker over there, and then so that should have been a win. That's a tie in the final 2.5 minutes, and then last night it's got to be a win. That should be 4 points, clean 4 points, and not even sharing any. And so that's the disappointing. That's the disheartening part about this great game of hockey is you play well for a certain amount of time, or your goaltender plays well and gets you big saves, and then one mistake or one great play from the other team and you just can't hold on. And I remember that happening a lot right after the Stanley Cup win of 2019, after the bubble, and the team was changing a little bit. And it's hard to get that culture of how to win games. I mean, Edmonton's got it. and they never go away in a game. The Florida Panthers, I still believe, Andy, are the best team in the National Hockey League. I love the way they play. I think they can win 3 Stanley Cups in the next 6 years. I do. I think they've got the culture built, and even if they lose a piece here or there, they've got enough foundation players that'll keep things alive for the next players that are coming up.
Yeah, and I would agree with that, because some of those pieces, like an Ekblad, maybe you can overcome that. Well, one guy though that's just such an important piece, and everybody knows it, but watching him up close last night and just seeing how he impacts every shift, and he impacts it differently every time he's on the ice, is Sam Bennett. Like they can't lose him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I agree. That's where you got to pick your spots. Like where you're Bill Zito. You've kept Carter Verhaeghe signed a long-term deal. You're going to be in a situation maybe with that blood, and maybe that's a piece you can move. I mean, if you feel you've got a right-hand shot that's a young up and comer that you don't have to pay $8 or $9 million to, that might be your option for you. And soon Bobrovsky's going to be off his deal, and Spencer Knight will be taking it over. So I think you're just looking at the years, and you're looking at the bump in the cap that's coming up, and everybody thinks the bump in the cap is really, oh my goodness, it's going up $8.5 million. But for a lot of teams, you take a player that's on his entry level deal, and I'll use Detroit as an example. So you've got all this money, and everybody's like, oh, you got to sign this guy, you got to trade for that guy, you got all this room, and then next thing you know, Lucas Raymond goes from $950 a year to $8.5 million. Well, there's your bump right there. And then Mo Sire goes from the same deal. So what I'm saying is that's just one example of teams still have to make room for the players that they know are the foundation players going forward, that they're going to pay a boatload of money to. So there's not that much room when you look at the bumps in the cap.
Yeah, and I give Jake Neighbors credit. He fought, Sam Bennett.
Right? Oh, I love that guy. Love that guy.
Yeah.
I think Jake's playing great hockey. And I think, I watch a lot of the Edmonton game, and the down low game is so much improved. Mm-hmm. And it starts with the way that Jake is playing right now and battling for pucks down low, and Schenner's always done that. But even Colton Parayko, I've never seen him pinch down low and keep pucks alive in the offensive zone as much as he's done lately. So really a lot of great improvements there. But but you mentioned Jake. Jake is that's a classic mold of what you want from a young player. Not everybody can play that way. Mm-hmm. I get that. We saw it when Jordan Kyrou came into the fold. You're not going to ask Jordan Kyrou to play like Jake Neighbors. It's not going to happen. You're not going to ask Connor Bedard to play that way. They've got their own style. But man, when you got that mold of a player, bang, he's got it. That's going to be a good one for a long period of time. And for Sam Bennett, Sam can go up and down that lineup. He scares the daylights out of a lot of people. I've been on the air nationally for the two most hits that are so discreetly, accidentally, on purposely dirty that aren't dirty, if you know what I mean. Like, he's got a way of doing things that are...
Marchand, the one on Marchand?
The one on Marchand right in front of me, no player on the Boston Bruins even responded to it.
Right.
It was hard to see what exactly it was until the next day when we found a reverse camera that caught it cleanly, and the year before was against Nyes behind the net. And but I watched Sam Bennett play, and he makes plays. He knows how to win hockey games. Besides the hitting part of it, he gets the intangibles of how to win games, and he scares you because he's unpredictable. And that's what I love about the guy. And he's got the best mustache in hockey. So all that's a pretty good combination.
I agree. They're so professional, by the way, the Florida Panthers, just in terms of how they go about their business. I just think they're a professional team. And Paul Maurice, has established that, I think, from a coaching standpoint with that team. So.
Yep, sure. The one thing is, and I remember, arriving in St. Louis where I hadn't been on a team that won a Stanley Cup, but I'd been in Stanley Cup finals as a broadcaster and saw the way teams acted. And I just remember early on how it was refereed. It was a bad call here. It was this, it was that. It was a TV. We were on TV late here and early there. And there's all kinds of things that distract you when you haven't won before. And I'm using Florida Panthers in that same example. And then, they're calling out Sam Bennett because TV's, showing replays or you're showing a big hit from another team. So let's say a team like Florida doesn't like it and they think you're biased and you love the other team. It's typical for a franchise and teams to do that. Mm-hmm. But when they win, they take on a whole new responsibility. And it's funny, as a broadcaster doing national games, you don't hear from those teams anymore after they've won. They make no excuses. They don't care about the times. They don't care about what's said on TV. they just plow through it and play through it. And the Blues were the same way. And then they won.
Yeah.
And, remember after they won, there's no excuse. They won. They own a Stanley Cup ring and a Stanley Cup, their name on the Stanley Cup. So that's what I like about teams like St. Louis when that happened. Teams like Tampa Bay when it happened, and then they won again, and then they won again, and then cheapers, they could have won 3 in a row.
Yeah.
So and then Florida Panthers, but the Florida Panthers, you know what they do? They just act like, man, they do. They go to the rink and they just get themselves ready, and you know what they're going to get, and they don't let a game get away from them. Mm-hmm. Same way the Blues did in 19. Games never got away from them. They climbed back. They found a way to come back and win or tie the game, and that's what all great teams do.
Yeah, no doubt. So I guess don't listen to all the reports like when Sam Bennett was at the combine. Remember he couldn't do a pull-up or whatever, and everyone was like going crazy. And he still got drafted 3rd overall, I think. People forget that he was drafted that high. So it's just to be
you're right.
3rd or 4th, whatever.
He couldn't do a pull-up.
I don't know, but I guess that doesn't matter.
Were you in Buffalo scouting then?
No, but it was like a big story at the time.
Yeah, that's right.
That he couldn't do a pull-up at the combine, and so people were questioning. But I guess focus what he can do on the ice versus what he can do in the gym.
Yeah, maybe he had a bad shoulder.
That's true.
No, maybe he had a bad elbow. Maybe a tennis elbow, golfer's elbow. All right.
I have the worst.
Yeah, see, it's bad. It's painful, right?
I've got the worst tennis elbow, and I've had it for probably 6 or 7 months. I can't open a door.
You played pickleball. That's why, aren't you?
Pickleball, and you know what? It sounds crazy. It's just, I think, like shooting pucks with my kid all the time. I eat like off the ice or whatever. I think with like a heavy puck in the basement. I don't know. It's just, I don't know what it is. Yeah. But it hurts.
Once you have it, then it's hard to get rid of it.
It won't go.
It's really, really difficult. Yep. Need some injections. Go see Dr. Smith. He'll figure it out.
I know. What were your thoughts of Biz, his criticism of Connor Bedard? And I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to Connor since then or not. Mm-hmm. What would you say to him? Would you think of it? You think it was warranted? You think sometimes a young kid should hear some criticism? I'm curious what your take is on it.
I think he's handled it incredibly well. I did. I talked to him after the Saturday afternoon game was an ABC game, and Mark Messier had some things to say about the battle in front of the net on Reinhart, and so I had a chance. I think it was 2 days later in the morning. Just said, "Hey, Connor, I just want to. I've never asked you this question, but do you listen to the noise, or do you listen to analysts, or do you watch games back, or does somebody send it to you on social media?" And he said, you're talking about the Mark Messier comments. And I said, yeah, of course. And there'll be many more. They'll be good. They'll be bad. And he said, well, he wasn't wrong, was he? No. So that was his answer. He wasn't wrong. He goes, I'm in front of the net. We had the puck. It should, this is my analysis, not his. It should have got out of the zone. It didn't. So he's got to come back. And he came back and he actually picked up the man that was in front of the net, which wasn't even his man. Mm-hmm. So he did all the right things. But then when he got to him, Paul Reinhart, that guy plays with a heavy stick. He's not going to lose a stick battle. I haven't seen Reinhart lose a stick battle in 3 years. So, a little Sherwood stick's coming over top of him. He just go bang, swat it away and scores the goal. So anyway, Connor knew right away. And he said to me right away that's on me. It is a soft play. And now the Biz one came out, and I was doing the game for TNT the other night. And there were so many good things in that game that Connor did. We had a shift where he stole the puck like 3 times from Connor McDavid. Anders Sorensen on purpose went head to head with Connor versus Connor, and Hawks had the last change. So he wants Jason Dickinson, who's the best two-way forward on the Hawks for sure, and he goes up against Draisaitl. So the matchup was there, and it was a great game, and back and forth and exchanging chances. And there was a couple of shifts where Connor, he's done this a few times, like all great players have, extended their shift. Mm-hmm. And he extended it thinking maybe there's a little bit more candy at the end here and I'll stay on. And then he was out of gas. And then he turned the puck over. And then he went for a line change. So, he went for the line change, and it all ended up being at the wrong time. So I know what it's like being in that studio. It's the second game of a doubleheader. These guys have watched the first game. They're on their 9th coffee watching the second game. And I listen, Biz puts a lot of work and a lot of thought into what he's going to say. He's become a friend of Connor's. They did something for the Winter Classic. You remember on the ice?
Yeah.
They went on the ice. They did something at Grouse Mountain in Vancouver in the off season.
Yeah.
It was a bait promo. And so Connor likes Biz, and he likes the show. And So I bet for business point of view, sitting there in the studio going, well, boys, man, like we can't not do something. And I bet they had a whole conversation, and it was like, okay, we're gonna have to do this. I mean, we're national TV.
Yeah.
We've got to show people the other side. We show all the great things he does. We're gonna have to show some of the growing pains as well. So it couldn't have been easy for Biz, and obviously for Connor now, because he's got to decipher. Okay, I'm gonna do these things for these guys. I'm gonna go and spend some time and help them out or promote TNT, which he's done many, many times, and ESPN. He does everything the league wants.
Yeah.
But then I'm gonna, I'm not shy of getting criticized. And he said it again yesterday, Andy. He said it. He's like, I don't go between periods and watch TNT, and I don't need anybody to tell me when I did something wrong. And I watch him from the bench. He gets pretty sour, man. He gets angry at himself. He gets hot when the puck's not on his tape, or he doesn't put it in the tape for somebody else. And that's just the way hockey is. And so he's going to be just fine, because he doesn't shy away from it, if you know what I mean. He knows it. He owns it. And so that, I hope people understand that he's a 19-year-old, but he doesn't act like a 19-year-old. And that's pretty impressive. Only a year and a half into it. And I'll give you a number too. Like the last 19 games, he's only gotten 3 without a point. Now I know they're not winning, but they're in games against all the good teams. Against Carolina, beat Tampa Bay, went into Florida, got pounded. That was a bad game for them. Came back home, bounced back from 3-1 against Edmonton, came back. He made a great play to Alec Martinez. They tie the game, they lose in overtime. So, I mean, against really good teams, they're playing really well, and he's going up against really good players every single night.
I know. I did a hit during the game last night celebrating a 19-year-old for the Blues, Dalibor Dvorsky, who just played well in the American League All-Star game. He's the same age, you know what I mean? So one guy is in the American League, developing. Another guy obviously is being scrutinized at the highest level, and he came in with so much hype. Obviously the bar has been set so high for him. And, you could say whether it's fair or not fair, but what should it be? How should we judge Connor Bedard at this stage of his career based on the team he's on, who he's playing with, all that type of stuff you got to factor in? What's fair and what's not fair in terms of your evaluation of him?
Well, I mean, this all comes with being number 1 overall. I mean, he's been a phenom since he was in the Brick tournament, and it's not like it's new to him. But maybe one of the issues that happens now in the NHL, whether the kid's a phenom or whether the kid is in a certain draft, you don't have Connor Bedard, so they don't get as much notoriety going into the draft. But, Connor's just part and parcel of what's going on right now. Everybody watch Connor's plays as a 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old. How many lacrosse-style goals did we watch from Connor Bedard before? How many World Junior, accomplishments? I mean, he broke every record in the World Junior for points, and he won back-to-back. He travels with the number 1 overall pick. He travels with the scrutiny, and he's been hyped up. And with that hyped up, he's going to have a wonderful life and wonderful world. And everywhere we go, number 98 sweaters are everywhere.
Yeah. He
accommodates young kids. He signs autographs for them at every practice. And you've probably been here to Chicago at the practice rink at Fifth Third. Man, when there's a weekend, event of games like there is this weekend, I mean, they're all over the place right there waiting for Connor, and he always accommodates him. He's the last one off the ice, and he's the first one with the kids. So anyway, I guess there's good and there's bad. I mean, the good is every time he does something great, we marvel about how great it is. When we see something that's as Biz would say, too much pond hockey in the game or too much junior hockey in the game, well, that's up to the player to fix it. And I guarantee you, in the upcoming games, back-to-back, Friday against Nashville, Saturday in St. Louis, that when there's a chance to get the puck in deep, he's going to get the puck in deep. He's not a dumb kid. Yeah. He gets it, and he's just maybe guilty of trying to do too much and extend himself a little too much. And at this level, you can get burnt, and then you can look bad on the play.
Yeah. And it was Connor McDavid who was stripping the puck from him, so it wasn't some random guy,
Yeah, and there was, I tell you what, that Leon Draisaitl is the best two-way player that I've seen in the league right now. So
since who, Panger? I mean, he's so good.
He's so good. Well, Barkov is, you go Barkov. Leon gives you more on the offensive side of it, but it's not like he cheats and goes to just he just hunkers and goes to one side of the ice and just stands there. I mean, he back checks. He He steals pucks. He gets so sour too if somebody does something to him. Ilya Mikheyev did something. He thought it was a dirty play in the game a couple of nights ago, and the bench, because I'm right between the bench. And I mean, Leon Draisaitl wasn't afraid to tell him that you do that again, you're going to eat the end of my stick. I mean, it was great. It was old school conversation, and Mikheyev didn't back off one bit, and it was a great battle all game long. So I love Leon. I mean, if you want a complete package, man, that guy's a complete package.
Yeah.
Barkov's the ultimate in that area.
Yeah.
This guy just gives you a little bit more creativity, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Bergeron, obviously, before him. There's been so many great ones. I wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of that stick blade for Leon Draisaitl either, because that's... I know. It's the biggest...
I can get up and down Duck Lake with that thing. It's just rolling with that distance paddle.
I know. And he does get all worked up. He is fun to watch. He's like Ovi, but on the other side of the ice, he just stands there. Like, you knew the puck was coming to him at the end of the game the other night. I was talking to Jim Montgomery about that. Like, why can't teams stop that? It's like they're so good, and it's also the guy who's passing the puck, right? You had Backstrom to Ovi all those years, and now with McDavid feeding Draisaitl. It's like everyone knows the puck's coming to him, and he's going to receive it. He just stands there, and he gets it and finishes.
Andy, you don't think we all knew where Hully was?
Oh, my God.
Seriously. We knew where Hully was. We knew he was somewhere.
Yeah.
He was somewhere in a soft area. You couldn't barely see him, and then somehow Oatsy got him the puck, feathered it through a maze of people, and it got to him. Somehow, I could never find where Yari Curry was, but somehow Gretz could go against the grain and fire it through, 6 pairs of skates and right on his tape. And maybe the best passer right now. In fact, Connor Bedard thinks that Kucherov is the best passer. He said the best passer ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, in the history of the game, I said, you might want to watch some video. And he goes, no, I know Gretz, but he goes, I mean, my memories, and unless I watch it over and over with Gretz, but he goes, right now, I'm watching Kucherov. He makes passes that he has no business making.
Mm-hmm.
So
he's the most...
and he finds Braden Point all the time. And so how do you not find Draisaitl when he's standing in the same area? It's because he puts himself in a position, he waits, he's got patience, and it's all about the passer after that. And everybody's mesmerized with the puck because it's on Connor McDavid's stick. So you don't want to give him a chance.
Yeah.
It's lethal. It's a great 1-2 punch.
Yeah, Kucherov he's amazing. What are you doing during the Four Nations?
I'm doing game 1 on TNT so it's on Wednesday in Montreal, Sweden and Canada. So I'll do that, and then I'll come back to Chicago, and then I'll go to Palm Springs and spend 4 or 5 days and play a little golf there, get away from it a little bit, and then I'll come back and I'll see the grandkids this weekend, and then hopefully when we get back as well.
You liking Chicago? You loving being back there?
Yeah, I mean, the transition is not easy. I try to tell people, like Rick Ball joined us from Calgary, and I said to him, I said, it's going to get easier for you. It was not easy for me last year, Andy. I'll make no bones about that. It's a difficult transition. Everybody thinks it's easy because you go back to the place that you played for, and I started my career here, but it had been 20 years, so it wasn't easy living I think the culture of St. Louis and what we had is in broadcasting and how we did things and our camaraderie isn't something you just make up. We built that over time, and we had a blast. And I'm still on text thread with Joey and with JK and with Curbs, and sometimes it's just hockey, sometimes just watching the game, and sometimes it's just jabbing each other. But now coming back to Chicago, we bought a place in River North. We love the area. We love walking around the restaurants. I forgot how great the restaurants are. Like, man, the service, the amount of options you have here, and just getting to know some of the people that I've known for a long time. So no, it's been really good. They really wanted me here, especially Rocky Wirtz and Danny Wirtz, and man, you could feel the want from them, and for that greatly appreciate that. That you just want to be wanted and appreciated, and that's what I am right here. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, it should be a good one tomorrow night, though. It always is whenever Chicago, no matter where the teams are in the standings and whatnot, they're always entertaining games, and it's always a great atmosphere. So look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll have one afterwards.
You got it. Thanks, Panger.
Okay.
Appreciate you doing this. Okay, take care.
Take care.
So that was Darren Pang. Always great to catch up with Panger. I could have gotten into so many different things, but I really wanted to ask him about this Bedard thing because it just took on a life of its own. I'll get into it with Jamal Mayers. And listen, just because you're 19 doesn't mean that you are, just completely protected and, should escape criticism. he's got a target on his back. He's one of the most popular players to come into the league ever. I think Connor Bedard came in to the NHL with more hype than Crosby and McDavid. I mean, McDavid came in with so much hype. Crosby obviously did as well. Remember when the media and the fans were all over Crosby too, because he was always yelling at the officials and getting into it after the whistle. I mean, it wasn't always rosy for him, even though he had over 100 points. But he did have over 100 points as an 18-year-old. So he just backed it up. Bedard, listen, the jury's still out in terms of what level of a star he's going to be. Is he going to be an elite superstar? Or is he just going to be an all-star? What is he? And I think that's what we're waiting to find out. And listen, when you look at some of the little details that Darren Pang's talking about, not getting pucks in deep, not changing on time, that starts even before he gets into the NHL. I mean, these kids need to be taught and coached the right way. And if they're not, then all of a sudden I think it makes it more difficult for a head coach in the NHL who's on a string anyway as a head coach in the National Hockey League. These guys get fired every other day. What's he supposed to do to the franchise player who's got more power than the head coach? Now, that's a difficult spot to be in for a coach when the players have way more power than you do and the player happens to be 19. Yeah, I'm sure they're telling him all the time, you got to change, you got to stop on pucks, you got to stop in front of the net when you're tracking back. And, pucks need to get in deep. You can't turn pucks over in certain situations. We all know that. And this kid's been so good. I bet you he really has never been coached. He's had coaches, but has he truly ever been coached hard before he got to the NHL? I doubt it. I'm sure his coaches just love the fact that they were able to call themselves Connor Bedard's coach. It was like an honor to be able to coach Connor Bedard. I'm not going to tell him. It's like, now he's learning the hard way. So sometimes it's okay to take some bumps along the way and take a little bit of heat. And I'll give Biz credit, man, for being honest. And that's his job. I mean, those who want to criticize Biz because he didn't put up a lot of points as a player, it's such crap. Nobody wants to... That just is completely irrelevant. He played the game, and he's watching the game. He knows what he sees, and it's his job as an analyst. I don't want to turn in to any broadcast, and it's certainly not TNT if I don't feel like the analysts are being honest or if they're covering up. I want honesty. And I don't know if the other analysts on the panel were comfortable with what Biz was saying. It's like, oh my God, we're talking about Connor Bedard like that. Whatever. Give your opinion. People who know the game won't disagree. But I'm sure the coaches and some of the veteran players are like, oh, finally, it can't just be us telling him all the time. That'll get his attention, though. I don't care how good you are, how popular you are, how big of a star you are. Nobody wants to take that type of heat and get embarrassed on national television. We'll get Jamal Mayers' take. He'll join me next. Looking forward to that conversation coming up with Jammer. As always, Arco Construction taking St. Louis hockey to the next level, one ice rink at a time. They built that beautiful rink in Chesterfield, the beautiful four-sheet facility in Maryland Heights, the Centene Community Ice Center, Top Golf, Putt Shack. They bring the fun to St. Louis. They bring the hockey to St. Louis. We love that. Arco Construction. First Community, as always, brings us hockey sense each and every week. You saw the Blues Hall of Fame class that was brought to you by First Community. Little Blues, an incredible program brought to you by First Community. Small business lending. Hey, if you run a business, I'm talking to you right now. Are you ready to take your business to the next level? First Community offers competitive rates on commercial loans, lines of credit, and commercial credit cards designed to help your business thrive. They've got a dedicated team to help you get the funding you need so you can seize new opportunities. That's what life is always about, seizing new opportunities. If you don't know First Community did commercial loans, that's okay, because now you know. Commercial vehicles, equipment, real estate, even SBA loans. First Community has been in business for over 90 years. They want to see your business grow. And they are right here in town. Easy access, baby. so you can deal with them face to face. Stop by a local First Community branch. Do it today. And we love the fact that First Community sponsors everything we do here on Hockey Sense. More hardcore hockey talk coming up next. Jammer joins me in studio. Don't go anywhere. All right, let's bring in Jamal Mayers into the conversation. And this Connor Bedard thing has taken on a life of its own, Jammer. And it's funny, I just had, Panger on, obviously, and I talked about it in the first segment. Talked about it after Panger, too. Listen, he came in with so much hype, right? Crosby did too. Bedard, or McDavid did. And Crosby took a lot of heat his first year because he was always yelling at the refs and getting involved after the whistle. You were still playing back then. But he backed it up because he put up over 100 points as an 18-year-old. So it's like he walked the walk and he matched the hype that he came in with. Celebrini didn't come in with as much hype, but certainly a lot of hype. And this guy has probably exceeded expectations for those who didn't know how good he was. I think for those who knew how good he was, he hasn't exceeded expectations. This guy is, was more than capable of doing what he's doing right now. I just think it comes with the territory. You're going to be a franchise player, and you're going to make these types of mistakes over and over and over again. That's biz. Listen, Paul Bisnet, it's his job to be an analyst. I don't want to tune into a broadcast ever and not get real honest opinions. And he gave his opinion, and maybe that'll get the players' attention because nobody wants to get called out on national television.
Well, what are we really talking about here? An analyst said that a guy who cheats the game and continues to do it, doesn't lose ice time, and
Messier
doesn't play the right way. Like, it's not that hard to see. Everyone can see it. The argument that it's age is a non-factor for me. All you have to do is look and watch Macklin Celebrini. He doesn't cheat the game. He's on the defensive side of the puck. He manages the puck.
How old was Taves when you first saw Taves play?
19. I played with him in the World Championships while he was still a college player. He was contemplating whether or not to go back to school. He played the right way.
Mm-hmm.
There was no cheat in his game.
Yeah.
Certainly wasn't an 100-point guy. But for me, I think playing defense and learning how to play defending, if you will, is a choice. And Connor, it's not maturity because you have an 18-year-old in San Jose that does it. It's a choice. Connor Bedard has chosen not to play that way. And to me, it leaves only one decision to be made. He is not a center. Until he makes that decision to play the right game the right way, you move him to the wing, you allow him to make those types of mistakes, less responsibility, and he can play his game. But he, for me, is hurting you more than he's helping you in a lot of instances. And good for Biz for pointing out like that's on a game-to-game basis.
What a lot of other people are saying around the league, too, and they have been saying it all season long. So it's nothing that hasn't been said privately when you talk to hockey people, but it's the first time maybe it's been said publicly. Although Mark Messier just said the same thing, didn't get nearly as much attention, but he basically said they need to start taking ice time away from him because that is the one power or the one piece of control that a coach has over a player, no matter how popular the player is. But you're not seeing that. So I don't know if that's coming from above the coach. You already had a coach get fired. It's tough. You get a 19-year-old kid who puts a coach in a tough situation too, because they're losing and people are now saying, well, he's not losing. It's like, what's he supposed to do when you have maybe a manager's being like, no, you can't bench him. You got people buying tickets and coming to the games to watch this kid play, but you're just not getting his attention. And listen, let me ask you this, Jammer, and now you're being around at the youth level and obviously been around the game at the highest level for a long time. But I just feel like a lot of these kids like him, they just never have been coached. Every level he's played at, the coach was probably like, I'm just fortunate to be able to coach a player like Connor Bedard. They got a lot of attention because they were his coach. He was so dominant that you just never had to focus on some of the, deficiencies maybe that he had in his game. And so for the first time that he's ever been coached hard, it's probably come in the National Hockey League. And it's still not getting through to him, but, maybe eventually he will, start to learn that there's a time and place and there's a time and score to be able to do certain things.
Yeah, I think that there has to be trust. I think that gone are the days, a long time ago, but you could just intimidate players and do things of that nature. I think it's a combination of trust. So understanding that, yes, Connor, we want to allow you to do those things creatively and create offense, but understanding time, score, situation, who you're on the ice against, where we're placing the puck, where you're positioning, are you stopping in the defensive zone, all those critical elements. The only way to correct them,
Shift length.
yes, and the only way to correct them is taking away their ice time. It's the only way, because if you continue to do those things, what's stopping him from continuing to do those things? Nothing. So if he still gets to go out on the ice, it doesn't mean he's going to sit for 5 or 6 minutes of the game. It just means miss a shift or two a game.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do to get a guy's attention. And so I know they're in a difficult position.
Yeah.
But this is not getting better if he doesn't change. And the only way to help him change is to continue to hammer home, show it on video, coach him, and get him to understand how you do things the right way. What I would do, which would probably piss him off, which I think is okay at this point, is to show him clips of Celebrini. I would show him clips of Celebrini. So you eliminate immediately the excuse of age. Here is an 18-year-old that does it the right way.
You're younger than
and then here's a shift of you doing it. And yeah, I don't care. I'm sorry if you go home upset.
Yeah.
If I pissed you off, that's okay. Because if it allows you to change those habits even a little bit, then I've done my job as a coach.
Do you think elite free agents will look at Chicago as a destination? Like, do they say, I want to go play with this kid?
Well, they should. It's a fantastic place to play. Great city. I think that it will get turned around. And let's be honest. I know not taking anything away from Donato,
Slagger
or Hall. Like it's just he needs some real veteran players. Some hockey trades need to be made.
High end.
Not guys at the end of their careers necessarily. Guys that are like veterans that have played 6, 7 years.
Motivated to win.
Yes, and want to go. And I think what you got to do is get creative to make hockey trades, but bring in 3, 4 of those type of players. Not easy to do, but I think we're now 2 years into this. You can't just keep building from.
They brought in Taylor Hall.
I'm talking guys that are in
their thing. And they brought in Tyler Bertuzzi, thinking that these are those guys that you're talking about. But like a guy like Rantanen, for example, who's going to be a UFA and he's going to command a lot of money. Would that be a destination that he would maybe look at? Or you think guys are like, hey, listen, I want to go play with this kid for the next 10 years because he's going to, put the puck on my stick and I'm going to be able to put up points with him?
I think so. I think that Rantanen is the type of player that would possibly allow him to play center still. But I think you got to look for a guy who I still believe I think he's a winger. I mean,
a lot of people have said that. Well, why do you think that? Just because of why?
His lack of defensive awareness. He's seeing all the top players.
Yeah. And
it's not easy. I don't think he skates well enough, if I'm being honest, for his size, to have to defend the elite players that play center in the league. And so, for me, Patrick Kane changed the position for wingers in regard to how they play. When I saw him play, I'm like, he starts as a winger, but he's basically playing as a center. And then Panarin, and then Kaprizov. Like, there's all these guys that are, and there's more examples of it, that are technically centers. But you think back to the 90s and 2000s, that wasn't what a winger would do.
Wingers now can drive lines and whatever.
And carry the puck through the neutral zone, which is...
So do you still think, like, whenever you hear, like, analysts and general managers and say, well, the difference between a play, in terms of how much they should make and where he's a center versus a winger, does that still come into play as much as maybe it should?
It comes into play, but it's coming into play less and less. In my opinion, it should mean less and less as more teams decide to swarm in the defensive zone. So in the defensive zone, what that means is instead of playing positional hockey where the center helps out the D and is down low and the wingers are with the defenseman in the defensive zone, most teams, I'd say half, if not more than half the teams in the NHL, play a swarm defense similar to Florida. And what that means is it's the first forward back, it's the second forward back, it's the third forward back. All players interchangeable. It just means who arrives first back to the defensive zone will determine what position you're going to be playing.
I saw your team out on the ice last night. That was cool, right? They get recognized. I love it when they do it every year, and I'm glad they still, introduce each player individually for the Pee Wee Quebec team. So that was cool to have your boys down there last night.
It was. I got a little bit of slack from about a few of our players because they're not used to not wearing a hat. So
you said no hats?
I said no hats. I figured, how they like to hide themselves behind their hat. Let's see who they look like so their family and friends could see them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they had no hats, and the boys all looked great, and they behaved well. I was very impressed that they made sure they said thanks to the staff and Sarah and Nick, who help out and do a great job with the Blues, and pretty cool experience for them and their families.
Did you watch the games in the seats, or were you guys in a box?
In the seats.
And they all watch, right?
They watch.
Yeah.
They watch.
What are they watching nowadays? 12-year-old kids. Who are their favorite players? Like, are they watching? Are they student of the game? Or are they just watching the highlights and they just want to see the guys who put on the highlight reel every single night?
Well, we get to see the Blues a lot. So when we typically, Crew and I go to a game, I will pick a player from the opposing team for him to watch. And the player that is a similar size, because it's not fair for me he's not a big kid. So it's not fair for me to say to him, hey, watch Matthew Tkachuk. Well, he's not going to command the front of the net and work the walls like Tkachuk, but I will say watch Reinhardt. And not a big guy, but makes small plays, holds on to pucks, is very cerebral, smart play, supports the puck, is very strong in the puck area.
And he is so smart, though.
Yes.
Too, Jamal.
And so I did text Crew during the game, said, watch 13.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, he watches the Blues players too, but when you have an opposing team come in, you don't get to see them very often. I oftentimes will tell him, I'll text him, hey, watch this guy.
Yeah. Tough loss for the Blues, man.
Yeah.
They hung in there with him.
They did. I mean, listen, Florida's a championship team for a reason. They're on the road. They like to muck it. They made it a mucky type of boring type of game, if you will. The Blues seem willing and patient to play that type of game. And teams like Florida are opportunistic. And it's really unfortunate. Kind of a miscue in front of the net. An unfortunate bounce off the initial shot from Reinhardt. He collects his rebound. And, man, I'll tell you what, Hofer was good all night long. And just a tough goal to give up with 12 seconds left.
Tough. Really tough. They're so professional. I keep using that word describing Florida, just how they handle themselves on the ice and then how they bring it on the ice. They can play any style, but that's their style of the game, right? You fight right off the draw. It's physical. Once you invite them into that type of battle, it's like you're playing right into their hands too, But I thought the Blues responded well to it, to be honest with you.
I think that they responded extremely well. I think that's what Florida does, right? They're kind of the bully. They like to take it into the gutter, and when they look at the roster, I think if they see that they can do that to teams, then they'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
But they also have the skill to play a skill game, but they don't. They can play it any which way, but for me, it's their clinical approach to how they defend. Their patience within their system. That's what good teams do, right? There's no lack of confidence that they're going to win the hockey game, even though they might feel like they should be up on the Blues. I think the shots were heavily favored for Florida after the first period. I think the Blues only had 3 shots. Some teams that don't have the championship caliber, would be impatient in that and look at this the lopsided. Well, Florida doesn't do that. They continue to play the right way and know that they'll sustain it over the course of 60, 65 minutes if they have to, and they'll win more games than they'll lose.
Is Matthew better than Keith?
Whew. Different players.
Okay.
Different players. I don't think Matthew skates as well as
Keith.
I think that I could tell you how they're similar.
Okay.
They're similar in their.
What's Matthew better at than Keith, you think?
I think Matthew has better hands.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, no offense to Walt, but he would admit this. It was a joke that he couldn't make a saucer pass. We would always joke how are you have 500 goals and you literally, but obviously he was so strong, so good below that, understood the give and go game probably better than I've ever seen anybody.
Really?
That was Walt's genius.
In all 3 zones.
All over the ice. The give and go. He knew how to, and get inside position, present his stick, get his own rebound. He knew what his strengths were: long stick, kept the defenders away, knew how to get to those good areas to score, and was fearless. And I think Matthew has those same fearless traits. He has an uncanny awareness of the time and space on entries that I don't think Walt would invite people on entries. He'll go to a stop and just see the ice.
So Matthew will.
Matthew
That's
will.
what he did last night. How many times did he just pull up? He doesn't pull up and like button hook or anything.
No,
He just
he
stops.
pulls up, stops, and he lets that play come to you.
And he uses the width of the ice.
And he does. So that's a different way he plays. So that he has that part of his game, and then he also has the part around the neck that Walt has.
Yeah.
And you can tell, and it's not surprising to me because I've had these conversations with Walt, is like, how did he's like, we watched hockey together. He enjoyed watching hockey with me. And so that process of just picking his brain over the course of years built up that knowledge. It's not, he wasn't born with it. That's the problem with people think. They think Matthew just was born with this innate sense and understanding. No. He was a student of the game.
Yeah.
Like, he watched the game with
Watched
his dad.
hockey.
He watched it to try to understand it and to figure out, how am I going to manipulate? Why did he do that? Why are you asking questions? So that, to me, is the real story. Is like, it was his craft was learning, and he was like getting a master's class watching hockey with Keith Tkachuk.
And just loved it.
Yeah, loved it.
NHL Network every morning. I used to hear about. Walt would say he and Brady would just watch the highlights every single morning. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It just becomes that level of commitment, and that they just knew this is what they were going to be, and nothing was going to get in their way. They were just going to be hockey players. There was never a plan B. You know what I mean? So,
I don't think there can be, if that's your choice. But I think you gotta, as a parent, your job is to. I always say, as a parent, you're driving the bus, but your kid athletically is telling you where you're going. Sometimes they just want to get off the bus and they're done, and sometimes they're like, no, I want to learn how to do that, and then you got to take them to that next place.
What'd you think of Buffalo and their lack of response when Tage Thompson got hit?
Perhaps a little bit overblown in this sense.
Really players on the ice, like they didn't see it?
No. I think there was some confusion about who it was, because after he hit, usually the guy will stand there. He just kept playing, and I get that part of it. What's probably more concerning is that once you figure it out, no one did anything, shifts after that, right?
Right. Then you fight the next game. Does that?
That doesn't mean anything. That's
Matthew Olivier from Columbus.
That doesn't do anything.
Cam and I just had Matthew Olivier on. We haven't released the interview yet. But we're like, he's not feeling any emotion from the previous game. He's like, okay, this kid wants to fight me. We'll fight.
That has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
I get why a young player would want to show his coach and show the management that he was willing to do it, but they kind of missed the point.
Yeah. That's
not the point. The point isn't stage fights. The point is sticking up for each other when your best player gets hit.
And you weren't playing the same team. Like, it just doesn't.
So the point is, the next time might not happen for 3 weeks, for a month.
Right.
But the next time someone gets hit and it's one of your better players, somebody better respond in the next 3 shifts.
Did you like Neighbors' response last night?
What's the context?
So Bennett hit him hard when they were in Florida a few weeks back. I mean, very questionable hit. The league looked at it. They didn't suspend Bennett. I don't think he got a penalty on it. I mean, elbow to the head, into the glass.
Okay, so this is my feeling on it.
Pretty dirty hit.
Okay, this is my feeling on it. To start the game, the only way you fight that, and this might sound strange to you, is I like what Jake did. To start the game, you only do that, in my opinion, if it happened to one of your teammates.
No. So you think if it happened to you, you do that later in the game?
I do it a little bit. I do it as the game's happening.
Why? I mean, I don't.
Because then it becomes about you. I'm doing this for me.
At the beginning of the game.
Back at you at the beginning of the game. As the game's going on, you'll find a reason, or you'll figure it out. But I don't know if that makes sense.
Bennett almost got him again later in the game. A little knee on knee, almost like in the nuclear.
Yeah, he did. He did. I think, you know what? Let's not overshadow the importance of it. To me, is like the tremendous amount of bravery it takes, because that is one tough customer.
Sam Bennett.
Yes.
Oh, hell yeah.
And for Jake, I can assure you, the beautiful part about what he did is this. And I think that some of the younger players don't really appreciate, some of them do, is that there are very few people that are willing in today's game. So I can assure you, his space got greater by doing that. The willingness to do it for Jake, only have to do it 2 or 3 times a year. But I can assure you, there's now guys going, ooh, he did that well against Bennett. I would
Really?
think about fighting him.
Okay.
I don't think I would fight him.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. And that's what,
So you like how he handled himself in the fight too, like.
yeah, I mean, I didn't like how he let Bennett get his, you can talk about strategy and everything like
Maybe
that.
his first, maybe
It was amazing.
most his second fight of the year.
Heck of an effort.
Okay.
He did amazingly well.
Okay.
And I'm not going to act like I'm the fight doctor. It's takes a lot of courage to step in there like that.
Ryan Hartman, 10 games for his, and you took thousands and thousands of faceoffs in the NHL. So you saw what he did with Stützle. Basically shoved his head down to the ice, right? Got 10 games for it. And he's getting 10 games because he's got a reputation now as he's a dirty player.
Yes.
All you gotta do is, I would take him on my team. I'm saying he's dirty.
It's deserved. I think they got this one right. I think that when something goes outside of a hockey play, you have to discipline it as such. And I will even take it a step further. When something goes outside of a hockey play like that, that is where you could think to yourself, if that happened in a men's league, that player would probably sue, or like the police could be involved. When that happens, it's my opinion that the PA should be able to say, that is not part of hockey. I'm not defending Ryan Hartman.
Appealing.
We're not appealing. We're not defending that action because it is not within.
Although I did put out right away, you knew an appeal was going to come. Like right when they,
I just don't like that part of it.
I wouldn't be surprised if they reduced it to 8 games or whatever. We'll see what happens. But
that part of the process, I think, is flawed.
For something like that.
Why are we defending?
Yeah.
No offense to Hearts. I like the kid. I like his way he plays. When you go overboard like that, don't defend that guy. Think about what Stützle's going through. And what if he lost teeth and has a concussion? And like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think we got that backwards. And I think about back to Rafi Torres taking out Hossa, and the PA's defending Rafi Torres. I'm like, Hossa got taken off on a stretcher.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
I know. I remember you fighting Rafi Torres.
Right, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Why are we defending that?
No, I got it, and I hear exactly what you're saying, and I agree with you. Are you looking forward to the 4 nations? Who's going to win the 4 nations?
Well, my hope after, Canada beats U.S. on Saturday night is it the 14th?
Are you now? Is that where you're at in your household? Do your kids go for USA?
Oh yeah, everybody in my house is USA, but I played for Canada 3 times.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm born in Canada, so listen. I put it this way: if any of my kids are lucky enough to play for USA, I'll be cheering for USA.
Yeah.
But when it's hockey and it's Canada versus USA, I'm cheering for Canada.
Yeah.
And we'll do a little joke. I think Lash and I are gonna each bring a jersey, a USA and a Canadian one, and we'll have a little wager with each other have to wear the other jersey.
I feel like USA is going to. I just feel like USA. Talking to Matthew last night in the post, like they're so into this tournament. I don't know if the Canadians are as.
Oh, here we go.
Excited. I think they will be. But these
Americans. Why wouldn't the Canadians be excited?
Well, I think they are. But I'm just.
You don't think McDavid's excited to play with
Crosby? Like Pietrangelo pulled out and stuff like that. So. Yeah, I'm just saying. I would imagine once they get there, they're going to be. And talking to Bennington, he's locked in and ready to go. This is a big opportunity for him too.
Yes, it is. He's thinking for him plays well. Guess who's playing in the Olympics?
Yeah, I would agree. He could solidify certainly be one of the 3 goalies for sure.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Because there's other goalies coming. Right? Yeah. There's younger goalies coming.
Logan Thompson, who he's probably been left off and probably should have been named.
Yes.
So I would imagine he's going to factor into the equation maybe a year from now.
And I think some of these younger goalies another year from now too are going to Montevo. Let's see where he goes with his development. There's another couple young players, young goalies that are coming up that perhaps.
All right. So good luck at the P with Quebec. I don't know if we're going to hear from you or not next week. Maybe you can give us an update.
Let's do a remote.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So hopefully we can get an update on what's going on from you. And listen, I hope you guys do well. But at the end of the day, these are memories that they're going to create, that they're going to hold on to forever.
Yeah, I'm gonna. You know what? I'm honestly, Strick. I'm gonna be very mindful of having 2 hats. One hat is gonna be like, let's win the game. That's important on Saturday. And then when that is over, I'm going to take that hat off and put the hat on, make sure the kids have a great experience and remember this
right?
for the best of their
Which
life.
is way easier said than done.
Yes, I think it's going to be important because
Yeah.
we obviously want to do well and win, and that's the goal. But it's more about the experience and the life experience that they'll get.
Tell us about Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers.
Well, we already know how many locations they have. Let me tell you about them. They've got 43 store locations. Dobbs is offering winter driving deals on the best brands, including up to $275 in savings on new Goodyear tires, plus other money saver deals on new sets of Cooper, Continental, and BF Goodrich. No matter what you drive, a car, light truck, van, SUV, hybrid, EV, Dobbs has a team of experienced tire technicians and ASE certified associates to service them all. Go to Dobbs.com for more.
And what's for dinner? You gotta have to have a few good meals before you leave town.
Oh, I love my Italian, and Barlino's is the place. They've got 5 restaurants: Barlino's South, Barlino's Osteria, Chris's Pancake and Dining. Chris is at the docket, and you've been to the new one. Barlino's Twin Oaks forged many lasting relationships with their customers. Their family motto: cook good food, serve plenty. 50 plus years in business. Only 2 places to dine: at home or at one of Barlino's family of restaurants.
All right, so let's go. 2012 AAA Blues. Pee Wee Quebec represents St. Louis and the organization. It's going to be a lot of fun. When's the first game?
We have exhibition game we get there Wednesday night late. Exhibition Thursday against Montreal. Exhibition Friday against, I believe, Detroit. And the big game on 4:45 p.m. on Saturday night.
Can we watch these?
Oh, yeah, but it costs money to
Send me your
stream
code
it.
for that.
Exactly.
Your
Give me a deal. Shocker. Anyway, we're excited because it's supposed to be about 10 to 12,000 people at our game Saturday night at Videotron. So,
And who's that against?
We're playing Lac Saint Louis, which is a Quebec
So
team.
you've never played them before?
No.
Okay. All right. Good luck, man. Looking forward to it.
Excited.
Hearing how it goes. That's Jamal Mayers. Don't go anywhere. All right, you never know who's going to show up here at Hockey Sense. David Novak, man. You hear me talk about David all the time. I say he's the best in the business. He wants to talk pucks with you. One thing I always tell people is that call your insurance company to see how long your insurance company will cover your roof, because some companies don't do it after 10 years. So if your roof is 8-9 years of age, whatever, and now is the time to start thinking about a new roof and get it done while the insurance company is going to pay for it, right?
If it's damaged.
If it's damaged.
If it's damaged.
Okay. Which you don't even know if it's damaged.
No, a free inspection would take care of that immediately.
Mm-hmm. So what's a free inspection entail?
Just I come out, climb on the roof.
Yeah.
Look at if you've had hail in your area or wind damage in your area.
Mm-hmm.
I give you a free inspection. I climb up, and usually takes me about 30 minutes to give you a thorough inspection.
30 minutes is it?
Yeah.
I say 314-920-5713. It's the only number you need in your phone. You just got to plug that in. 314-920-5713. Talk to David Novak. And you don't mind if they want to talk some hockey with you, too.
Not at all. I usually get off topic anyway and start talking hockey.
Windows, too? Is that?
I don't do windows, but I do have a subcontractor who could do them. And I can put you in the right direction.
If you wanted to knock everything out at once or
Correct.
whatever, you can work that out. But soffit fascia.
Soffit fascia,
siding.
gutters, siding, anything.
Yeah.
Anything exterior.
You do the gutter guards and all that stuff?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to have you come over and do that.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to do some gutter guards because
Put the list together.
Because when the rain comes,
Oh yeah,
I just see it pouring down the side of my house,
Especially
which can cause issues, right?
right. Especially in the spring and fall when the leaves are falling, they get clogged. The downspouts get clogged. Then you get overflow, and if you start seeing wash away around your house, it could affect your
Is that
foundation.
a major?
It could be if it goes long enough.
But just if someone needs gutter guards, I mean that's a pretty easy fix, right?
it's a pretty easy fix, yeah.
Can insurance companies pay for that?
As long as you have it already, and if they're damaged. If they're not damaged,
They won't pay for it.
they won't pay for it.
Okay.
But a lot of times, if you buy the cheapos, they just don't really work as well.
So you want to get the
other
good
products.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to get the good stuff.
Absolutely.
How you feeling after that game last night? The last 2 games, actually.
Let's put it this way. Excuse me. I thought we played well against Edmonton and Florida last night.
Mm-hmm.
We just, I don't know. We don't know how to step on the throat and put them away.
Yeah.
And we have too many turnovers. Our puck, I've noticed lately too, our puck handling, Other teams are passing the puck along. We're dusting it off a little too much, but it's never on
Or
tape.
fumbling it, yeah.
Fumbling it around, whiff passes, too many sticks, not clearing stick passing. I don't know. Against Edmonton, when it went to overtime and we're going 3-on-3, and you're going against McDavid and Draisaitl, it's kind of a foregone conclusion. If you don't get the puck or keep possession of the puck, they're gonna put it home.
And those are elite teams. That's why that's
exactly.
why they're contending teams.
Exactly.
Why they were both in the Stanley Cup final.
I was happy with the point. Last night,
it's a tough one.
that was a tough one. 11 seconds in.
Because they hung in, right?
Yeah, they hung it. I thought they dictated play pretty well. Maybe half of the first period, most of the second period. I thought we dictated play.
Yeah. One thing that, and listen, it's easier said than done because you just can't find these guys unless you're drafting super high at the top of the draft. But it's like they're just lacking that elite superstar.
Correct. They are. They don't have that one dependable go-to guy at this point in time. Not saying Kyrou and Thomas couldn't do that. You know, I watched.
Because there are games that they do, right?
Exactly. And I watched the highlights of Dvorsky at the AHL All-Star game.
Yeah.
He lit it up.
He did.
You know? So
we talked about him last night on the broadcast a little bit too. Like
I saw your interview on the Jumbotron.
Oh, did you? Yeah. Oh, with that was with Bolduc, who had a really strong game last night.
He did. I think Zach needs to get more ice time.
Yeah, Zach Bolduc, I should have pointed this out earlier on the show. He's actually going to go down to the minors and play 4 games during the 2-week Four Nations break.
Yeah. Good idea.
Everybody's going to Mexico and Dominican Republic. They're going to have him go play. And I think that's going to be good for his confidence, and especially after the way he played last night.
He's going to keep the wheels going.
Yeah, but then, play premium minutes, first power play, all of that. You know what I mean? So he got some power play time last night, though. But it was good to see him score, and it's amazing what scoring a goal will do for your confidence.
Absolutely.
Because he carried it on the rest of the game. But it's no shade on Robert Thomas or Kyrou or anybody. It's just, you look at McDavid and Draisaitl, and then you see, the Reinhardts and the Kachucks and the Barkovs last night. They're just those players they're special players.
They've also been playing together a little longer. Thomas and Kyrou are still younger than all those guys, and they're learning new roles as they proceed with this team, as they take over the core, of the team. They're the go-to guys, and they're learning their way, and I'm very excited about the future with our team.
See, I like that perspective as a season ticket holder. Like, you're not panicking, you're getting worked up here. They got a lot of pieces coming, and they'll continue to build around those pieces, most likely through trades, because that's probably the best option versus free agency.
I just saw a rumor this morning, and I'm not going to say anything, but I always liked him. I would love to see him in a Blues uniform.
Who was that? Let me
Alex Tuck.
Oh.
From the Sabres.
Yeah, he's good in Vegas, too.
Yeah, he was great in Vegas, and he's a Buffalo native, so, I'm sure he don't want to be traded from Buffalo.
I always liked him, too. He's faster than he looks, too.
He does, and he's bigger.
Yeah.
And
good finisher,
and his hand-eye coordination, I thought, was amazing, even when he was in Vegas.
No, he's a good player.
He's a real good player. That guy goes under the radar. He'd be a real blue-collar, blue player. I'd be interested in it, but I don't want to also give up the farm for him either.
What's your interest level in the Four Nations?
Oh, I think it's a great idea. I'm excited about watching some of it. Won't be able to watch all of it because next week I'm heading out of town for 4 days. Just to get away from a little bit.
Where you heading? Go to the
Heading
beach?
down to Florida.
There you go.
Heading down to Florida. For a few days.
It'll be fun. I think the fans. Listen, it's one of those things where you're kind of like, okay, what is this? The Four Nations. I think people look at it like that because it's not the Olympics, and there's only 4 countries involved, and Russia's not involved, and so you're going to be missing a lot of the superstars. Germany won't be playing. Obviously, no Draisaitl. You don't have Czechia.
Yeah.
So people, but I think once the games are on and you see Canada versus USA on a Saturday night.
Yeah, Finland against
Sweden. Those games will be must-watch television.
Those are heated rivals.
Yeah. Give us a little background on Blue Note Roofing before we let you go. You've been in business for how long?
Opened up in 2023, but I got 21 years of experience. I ran other companies and then decided I'm going to open up my own. And but we're doing still getting some things done here and there, depending on the weather. That's been a real factor. We had some illness as well too. Yeah, little bugs going around. Everyone's got kids and they catch it. And
I know.
So, but it's just typical that time of year.
And you'll go where? You'll go everywhere, right? All over Illinois, Missouri.
Yep. Anywhere in the St. Louis area. I've gone as far out as Branson, Lake of the Ozarks, Columbia. On the Illinois side, I've been as far north as just south of Springfield, and I've been as far south as almost Paducah, Kentucky.
What would your recommendation be to any viewers or listeners who are listening right now who don't know if they need a new roof? I mean,
most people don't. A lot of times when they get hit with a hailstorm, they don't realize they were affected until they start seeing neighbors getting their stuff done. And it's always, anytime you get hail, it's always a good idea just to get a free inspection. Most companies, not just me, most companies will give you a free inspection just to let you know if you have any damage or not.
yeah.
And sometimes right after a storm, it takes a little time to see the damage. Insurance companies need photographic evidence to verify what they're paying for. And sometimes it doesn't happen as soon as the storm's over. Sometimes it takes time for the damage to appear.
So 314-920-5713. Call David today.
Please.
He'll talk pucks with you and get you a new roof. Soffit fascia, how do you know if you need that type of stuff?
A lot of times the fascia could get damaged with hail. Soffit won't get damaged with hail because it
we're about
hangs
to hit the
underneath.
hail season too.
But winds will kind of dictate that as well too. It can pull your fascia off, which then in turn leaves your soffit vulnerable because your fascia does hold the soffit together.
Siding.
And the siding as well too.
Yeah.
But you might not have siding damage from the wind, but you might have fascia or some soffit fall out.
But make sure your gutters are in good shape because we're about to get that rainy season, the hail season, and all that. You're going to want to make sure your gutters are in good shape. So
absolutely.
Otherwise, because if you wait and then you're looking at a bigger problem, right?
Yeah, you could get, especially with gutters and downspouts, you could get foundation issues.
Yeah,
and that's no joke.
You don't want that. All right, this has been Hockey Sense. We appreciate you coming in, David. As
My
always,
pleasure. Thanks, Andy.
talking pucks. I didn't even get your thoughts on the trade deadline. We'll wait on that. We'll do
yeah.
that next time.
Absolutely.
We'll see where things are at
Sounds
as we
good.
get closer to the trade deadline. I'll call David Novak today, 314-920-5713. Blue Note Roofing. Look for the big yellow truck with the blue notes all over it. You can't miss it. This has been Hockey Sense, presented by First Community.
Thanks, Andy.
Have a great day, everybody.